In this video, we'll be loading the OspreyPOS backoffice client for 12.8.105. Our first step is to create a host file entry. You can do that any way you prefer, such as a regular text editor, etc. I will be using the host editing app from the Microsoft Power Toys, which is a free download. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to add an entry. In this case, since the server is the same machine, I will use the loopback address. If the server was a different machine, you would obviously enter that address. The host is OspreyPOS.webclient.server. There is a reason for that. It is covered in the documentation in more detail if you're interested. But long story short, it greatly simplifies the end user and reseller configuration. I click Add. It's now in the file. I can close that. Next, I want to launch the app, which will have been obtained from the OspreyPOS Dropbox, which your reseller should have access to. I'm going to right click on it and choose Run as Admin. Now, because I have UAC turned on, in this case with default settings, it's going to prompt. I'm going to see it down here. Sometimes it pops up here. Sometimes it'll pop up in the toolbar. You just have to keep an eye for it. I'm going to click Yes, and then the installation itself is going to kick off. Okay, I'm going to click Next. I'm going to accept the license agreement. I'm going to click Next. I'm going to click Install, and it's going to start the file copy. Just as with the other installers, this will include Java, .NET, Progress software, and Osprey software. The Progress software in this point is the web client, as has been in the past. The only difference here is instead of using the actual web client applications for our apps, they are actually standalone installers that will be automatically installed and updated via our installer and an update process, which I'll get into later. What it's doing there is setting up a scheduled task, which has to do with that updater, which again I'll get into in a second. Alright, from here I'm going to click Finish. Now, the system may or may not prompt you for a reboot at this point. If it does, please do so. As you'll notice, we have a new client shortcut up here. I'm going to double click on it to kick it off. What it did there briefly is it checked against the Apache on the server, which in this case is this box. It pulled down a configuration file to compare version number on the server to version number on the client. Since they were the same, nothing had to happen. If they would have been different, it would have pulled down the updater from the server and ran it, and then launched the app, and we'd be here just as if we had to do that. Default login, unless it was changed when you installed the server, is UnifiedPOS 1966, and my UnifiedPOS and 1966. In my case, I changed it to UnifiedPOS and then 1. Click OK. The app comes up just as if you were running the client on the server. The advantage to running in web client versus shared memory on the server is if you were to somehow manage to crash the client, you would not take the server down, you would simply take the client down. Therefore, it's always recommended that you set it up this way. And lastly, back to the scheduled task. The reason for the scheduled task is the scheduled task, while it is set up as a scheduled task, is not actually scheduled. It is executed every time you click on the shortcut. The shortcut executes that task, which causes us to check for an update and or optionally update and then launch the software. That's all it does. It doesn't run any other time, but that is what it's used for. With that, have a great day, and I will talk to you later.